So the first frog that we're looking for tonight is called the spring peeper. And you can hear their call really easy right now. Now one of the things that's really interesting about the spring peeper is that the sound that you're hearing is from only the male spring peepers. And their job is to lock down a territory and attract a female spring peeper so that they can mate. And one of the interesting things about the spring peeper is that it's a frog that is normally a forest frog. It doesn't even come around water that often. But the reason why it's here in this marshy area in May is to reproduce. And all those peeps you're hearing are the male spring peepers trying to create a melody that's magical for a female. Right here, we have a peeper. And spring peepers are tiny little frogs. They're only about an inch to inch and a half long. You can see them right here. It's kind of a mottled brown color. And if you look close, you can see that little markings across his back. It looks like an X. That is a characteristic marking of a spring peeper. And like I said, they're about an inch and a half in length. They are mottled brown, sometimes gray, sometimes green. But one of the cool things about them is that they have suction cup-likes on their front feet. And they have one big toe, and you can kind of see it right there. And that helps them to climb trees. The other thing that's really interesting about our spring peepers is that they've got this little soft area of skin right under their lip. You can kind of see it right here. I'm just going to kind of point to it right here. That is where they can vocalize. And what these spring peepers do is they fill that little area right there with air, and that allows them to make that beep, beep, beep. That's so characteristic of the spring peeper. You can see his eyes there. See his legs with his little suction cup looking kind of toes. Really cute little guy. And I want you to look how well this peeper blends in. Now check this out. If he was sitting right here, he would be really hard to see. Really, really, really hard to see. And if he was over here in the water, even more so. You can see. Now, one of the things that's interesting about spring peepers and frogs in general is that they breathe through their skin. So they don't use lungs like we do and other creatures. They actually absorb oxygen through the air or through the water, right directly through their skin. So one of the important things about them is that their skin needs to stay wet in order to allow them to breathe. And it's a very important characteristic of a frog, and it's a characteristic that makes them different. Now if you look close, you can see him starting to move that little tiny air sac that's under his chin, and it wouldn't surprise me if he gives us a little peep. So our first frog, the spring peeper. Spring peepers, by the way, they eat insects, worms, and any other creatures that are small enough to that they can eat. They're preyed upon by lots of different species of creatures, including fish and other frogs and birds. And one of the things that's really important about this area that we're in right here, and we're going to pan just down a little bit and look at it right here. Just in general, we're going to look around. Okay. You can look all the way over here. There we go. You can see that this area isn't an area that has water in it all the time. And that's something that's really, really important for our spring peepers and other frogs, because they need to be able to have a place where they can reproduce, lay their eggs, and not be preyed upon by other predators. You know, if they were in a lake, there's fish there. There's a lot of other birds there that can be eating them. So it's pretty interesting. One of the freaky facts about the spring peeper is that those vocalizations that they make, sometimes they do that as an echo. So here's our spring peeper. We're going to let him go right here. You can see right here. There you go, buddy. And you can see how well he blends in. You see our spring peeper? He's definitely blending in where he belongs. Look how hard it is to see him. That's just amazing. There he is right there. Spring peepers. One of the really, really crazy and cool and exciting amphibians of the month of May.